Thank goodness it's going to be a short meeting tonight, huh?
That's what I hear. Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order.
Recording in progress.
So the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors.
Present.
Director Gould.
Here.
Director Wood is absent. Director Rice.
Here.
Director Costa.
Here?
Director Weber.
Here.
Director Stark.
Here.
Director Clark. Director Jones.
Here.
Oh, and I see Director Wood is now coming up to the microphone, so he is present. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Weber, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes, sir. Ready? Begin.
Thank you, Director. The Metro Cable announcement. The meeting of the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District is recorded. The recording will be cablecast on Metro Cable Channel 14, the Local Government Affairs Channel, and the Comcast and DirecTV Uverse cable systems. Dates and times of this recording can be found in the agenda packet. With that, we'll go to public comment. So this is public opportunity to discuss matters of public interest within the district's jurisdiction, including items on or not on the agenda. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, I have a speaker card from Roger Mitchell.
All right, Mr. Mitchell. Good evening.
Good evening, Director, Board Chair, board members, Chief, staff, and public. My name is Roger Mitchell, and I'm a proud retired member from this great department. On your dais, when you read this evening, there was 2 magazines. One's called the Gazette, that's from the Horses Carriage Club of America. The other one is from the Dodge Club of America. In those 2 magazines, there's complete articles about the presentation of the 100-year plaque placed on Rio Linda's #1, Old Betsy, that you are the proud owner of. And the public information officer of this very fine district set up a complete open house the day that was done. Now, that was back in September, and it's taken a while to get these together to bring to you, but it was a great event. I know we had Director Wood was there. I saw him having a great time, but it was a good day. And so I wanted to present those magazines to you. Those magazines are not only just local, not only are they just nationwide, they go out of the country. I don't know exactly how many, but I hesitate to say worldwide, but they are. They're not just national magazines. So those are a gift for you and the chief. I do have a copy for the public information officer that put all of this together. I didn't see him in the audience, so if someone will tell me who to leave his magazines with, I'll be happy to do that. So with that being said, I would like to answer any question any board member and or the chief or staff have about this event or those magazines.
All right, thank you, sir. Any questions?
No, sir.
Questions?
I have a question then, or a request. The Horses Carriage Club of America has asked if you have the time at the conclusion of this meeting, if you would all stand maybe in front of the dais and hold those magazine up with the chief. They would love to have a picture like that. I can't guarantee it's going to show up in one of those magazines, but I would have a hope. But so that's my request, and if there's time available.
Yes, sir. I think we can do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you for taking the time, and thank you for the gifts. All right, do we have any other speakers?
Is there anyone else that would like to make a public comment on Zoom? Please use the raise your hand feature. No other public comments. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to consent items. Any questions or comments from the board?
Mr. Chair, I have
Yes, sir.
a question.
Yes, please.
I'd like to pull 4, 5, and 6 to be able to ask questions for whoever would be answering those. It's about $3.5 million worth of expenditures this evening under consent, and I just would like to have the opportunity to ask a couple of questions, if I might.
Absolutely. So Marnie, we'll pull those 3
Sure.
questions, and then should we move forward with the rest?
Yes.
Consent first? Okay. So we will be pulling 4, 5, and 6 for conversation discussion. Any other questions or comments from the board on the remaining 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9? All right.
I do.
Mr. Chair, I'd move the remaining motions.
Okay, we have a motion, but we have a question.
I'll second.
So we have a, thank you. So we have a first and a second.
Great.
Question. Director Weber.
Yes, on the surplus equipment. The question I have is, Chief, has anybody looked at the training facility and/or other areas that we use engines? And if the engines that are looking to go into surplus, if they're in better shape than those engines, can we swap those out and make those surplus? I mean, has anybody looked at that?
Yes, I can't speak of this currently today. I don't know if Shay's here or not, but I know in the past,
Not, but Mitchell-
that is the rotation in the plan. And before we surplus them, we also look at, like our visit to Ione, we would give those to other organizations. So I believe our current fleet at the academy are the best of the reserve or surplus. But Chief Mitchell, if you have any more on that.
That's very good. Thank you. That was my only question.
Okay, thank you. So we have a first and a second.
I'll take the roll. Director Sailors?
Aye.
Director Gould?
Aye.
Director Wood?
Aye.
Director Stark?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Jones?
Aye.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
President Costa?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. So we've pulled 4, 5, and 6. So do we have someone that can speak to those items tonight, or should we just move them to the next agenda?
What do you want to do, Melissa? You want to move them?
Okay.
I think my questions are relatively easily answered. It's not controversial. I just need some answers before I agree to consent, since it's $3.5 million to spend out. And we don't typically see these numbers in our consent agenda. So whoever gets picked, I see anxiety and the staff have just gone way up. Please relax. Everything's okay. I just want to get some answers, like the first one item. Can we just go down through the items?
Yeah, we'll start with number
4 shows us spending $221,837. Is that a straight bill? Does it represent a 10%, 5%, no percent increase year over year in what we paid last time this insurance bill came due? When I see an insurance bill go up at home, I get to ask questions before those things happen. So whoever could answer that, and if you can't tonight, and we're not in some kind of, hopefully we're not, and it's due like Friday, then we can have that information. As well as number 5, same thing, is that we pay an aviation liability insurance, which makes total sense in our air ops piece. But what does that mean to us? We're spending $214,000 of our constituents' money. Is that a doubling of that insurance rate since last time we paid it? What does this mean? So as we're having conversations with the public and they wonder why our costs are going up, we can identify some of these things. If they're going down, we need to also identify that, but I have no basis to know what that means. And like I said, there's a lot of chatter, which means I'm stressing people out. Please don't do that, okay? That's not the reason. It's just I've never seen in a long time $3.5 million on consent, and I'd like a little bit more information. And it follows suit. Oh, look, are you up here because no one else wants to, or item 6 is the same exact same thing, right? The insurance cost there, and I think it's important that this community understand that if these things are significant increases, that be told to the public when we spend this kind of money under consent, right? I think I've been around long enough to know when it would get to like $10,000 and it could never see its face on consent because it went over $10,000, and now we're just multiples of that, and I'm just stressed about it under consent. So, ma'am, what can you share with me about 4, 5, and 6?
Good evening, Directors. Melissa Maddox, Chief Human Resource Officer with Metro Fire. I don't have all the answers. I don't have a whole lot to do with the insurance, but based on your questions, I think it would probably be a good idea to maybe put it on the next board meeting.
Great.
And have, I think you all remember Brad Svenningson?
Yeah, what a great
I
name.
almost had it right. Come back and he can explain all the details, what the increases were, because those were obviously the lowest insurance
Right.
rates that he had went out as our broker to go and find. And I believe last time we looked on the agenda and they were on consent, so I think that was the decision to do that again.
Okay.
But no problem, we can absolutely have Brad come back.
All right, with the caveat, I don't want to delay something that puts this district in, not paying your bill on time or anything like that. As long as you can assure me that we're not, by delaying this for another 2 weeks so we can get some of that stuff, we're not putting ourselves in a pickle because the bill's due at the end of the month. If it's not, then I'm fine to wait 2 weeks and get some of that information, right?
We actually have, surprise, we actually have Brad logging in right now so he can speak to
Okay.
it on Zoom.
And I think it can
I
be
didn't know
done
that.
pretty quickly. If you're just telling me those are the straight bills, they are 5% increase, then we can move on. I think the community needs to, because this is a good chunk of change. And if we spent $3.5 million in consent before, I apologize for not recalling that. But when I got my packet, I'm like, oh, okay, this is kind of something different. So anyway, Chief, I don't know if you're you're emotionally helping in that regard, or what's the deal going on over here?
I stepped forward to let her know that our broker was getting
Oh,
on
good.
to Zoom
Okay.
and should be able to answer any of those questions that you asked.
So I think we have another question, Director Weber.
Actually, just clarifying for Director Gould on number 4, there's actually 2 separate insurances, one for 317,000, and the other one is for 221.
Right.
Thank you.
Which just makes the number even bigger.
Yeah.
Brad.
Schvennings, and right?
You sure he's here? Sure it's not AI? And Mr. Chair, I apologize. I
No
just,
apology necessary.
there's
Good
just something
questions.
about my DNA that says when we're going this kind of money of our taxpayers, we need to have them understand what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's not a big deal to bigger departments where they spend this kind of money under consent. And Mr. Chair, too, if it's going to take a while, I'm perfectly
Yeah.
fine getting this information at the end of the meeting. It could just be a 3-sentence answer.
So let's postpone these 3 to the next agenda. That way we can get,
The only thing concerns me, Mr. Chair, is that these are for effective dates of 7/1.
See,
I'm looking for all the expiration dates to your point of when this comes. So the one for aviation liability is a 14% increase that's naturally occurring based on our aviation insurance.
okay.
okay.
See how easy that was? So the community understands that these kinds of things have gone up 14%. That's a pretty sizable increase when you're talking the numbers we are. Oh, this is like being at a funeral.
Can we just maybe perhaps move on to some other stuff, and when Brad gets on, come back to these?
So let me just confirm, Marnie, can we move those items towards the end of the agenda? Okay. So let's do that and then we'll come back.
Think so?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, team. All right, that moves to the action items. Ms. Maddox. All right, so the first action item, adopt resolution, non-safety senior management, and unrepresented confidential employees. We have our Chief HR Officer, Melissa Maddox.
Good evening, Directors, Chief House. Tonight, we're asking you to consider adopting a resolution approving the revisions to the district's non-safety senior management, non-safety management, and unrepresented confidential employees resolution. As part of a recent CalPERS audit and subsequent compensation reviews, staff identified the need to clarify certain provisions governing longevity pay and continuing education I got mixed up. Longevity pay and continuing education incentive program within the non-safety senior management and non-safety management and unrepresented confidential employees. It's a tongue twister. The proposed revisions are intended to provide administrative clarity, support consistent application of compensation programs, and maintain compliance with applicable statutes, regulations, and reporting requirements. The district currently provides longevity pay as an incentive recognizing employees for extended service. Under the existing language, longevity pay eligibility was based on continuous service with the district. However, separate personnel policies addressing reinstatement and seniority created ambiguity, I can't speak tonight, I'm sorry, regarding how prior service should be treated for employees who separated and later returned to district employment. So the first thing we clarified was that the longevity pay article was revised to include an effective start date. And then second, staff worked with CalPERS representatives to develop the revised language to clearly define how longevity eligibility will be calculated in a consistent manner. And then lastly, staff reviewed the district's continuing education incentive provisions as part of a separate member compensation review. And that review identified the need to clarify the qualifying education achievements must enhance an employee's ability to perform the duties of their position, and that the incentive must be administered in a routine and consistent manner. The proposed revisions incorporate this language to better align the incentives with applicable CalPERS requirements for reportable compensation, and to provide clear administrative guidance for future application of the program. And I can't say this enough times, the proposed changes do not create any new compensation benefits or increase any existing compensation levels. Rather, they just clarify eligibility requirements, improve consistency in administration, and strengthen the district's compliance with CalPERS statutes, regulations, and reporting requirements. The reason that we brought these forth tonight, the original thought process was as a note to self that we need to make these revisions before, when we do all the other contracts, we'll bring them all together in a group. However, we realize that these changes could potentially affect someone that retires tomorrow, the next day after that, and then also the other piece, it is possibly could affect a existing retired member, and that's what brought on the compensation review, and that's why we started working with CalPERS, because there was a flag on someone's retirement. So we felt the need to bring this to the board ASAP to at least get these changes in place so it doesn't affect any of our retirees in the past or in the future. So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Director Rice.
through the president, organizationally, we're about to enter an interesting place where I never thought as an elected official I would be. And Mr. Lavery, I'm going to probably want your guidance here. I want to do the right thing. I am not sure if the right thing is tabling item number 1 until our major labor contract is complete and then taking it up. I'm not sure if the correct thing to do is ask for it to be pulled until our major labor contract is negotiated and complete. And the reason I say this is that as an engine captain, I was the last person to leave the building. As a truck and rescue captain, I was the last person off the roof. In my fire station as an officer, I was the last person to serve myself dinner. We need to take care of this after we take care of the body. I think the timing, I'm sorry, is not the greatest, but I would move to table until our major contract negotiation is complete. If I need a date certain, then I will give a date of September 30th. Give plenty of time to make sure that that would happen. It just, and to finish this, a successor agency here in the past, that most of you were not here, Grant, Director Gould, you were. I don't know if you were, Gay, you may have been, but if you think back to when it was Sac County and we went through some pretty significant CalPERS changes, and it was just before the merger. And the Sacramento County District lost a couple of things through CalPERS interpretation in the administration at the time, and they're all long gone, and many of them aren't with us, God rest their souls, made the decision to say, you lost it, you have to rebargain it. American River at the time, through Chief Martinez said, actually I think it was Chief Dale was it Dale Paulson? It was one of those guys that said, we're not doing that. You had it, let's fix the language. And we were able to get it back. But I think that this, and if this affects you, you're not going to want to hear it. And you're not going to want to hear what I say after that. But this is a leadership issue, and we have to step up and take a leadership role. This board could have just as easily said, we're not going to do that. We're going to rebargain this. And the other piece of it, when you look at longevity, when you look at CEs, they are all based in our major labor contract. So let's pay the respect of the process that we have going and get that done and table this and not take it back up until we're complete. So that would be my request, to table this, Mr. Attorney.
John, I'll turn it to you as General Counsel.
Sure, go ahead.
Can I make one suggestion?
Yes.
Director Rice, I think you know my stance on what you just said. I eat last every time. You and I share that. I would ask to change your ask after council to table 1 and 2 and not 3. We have a current battalion chief.
We're on the same wavelength, and I will speak to that when we get there, Chief.
Okay.
I am fully engaged, and I understand. They're very different.
They are very different.
Number 3 has gone through the meet and confer process and has a valid side letter dated June 19th, 2026. So they're very, very different.
I'm just asking that we don't blend those two.
No, I was going to keep them very separate.
So since there's 3 actions here, 3 different resolutions, let's start with the first one, and then we'll come to the second one. So John, the
Okay.
question to you.
To address your issues, Director Rice, there's 3 ways you can go. This is up on the public agenda for action tonight. So if there's a motion made and the motion is seconded, then it's up for a vote like any action item. If it passes, it passes. If it doesn't pass, then it's doesn't pass, and it's potentially set for a new hearing like you're talking about. So that's one way to go. The other way is someone could make, or when it comes up for a motion, if there's no one that makes a motion or no one makes a second, then no action can be taken on it either. So that's another way where it isn't, the board's not put in a position to take action tonight. No action is taken. It potentially moves forward to another date if that's what the board and staff want to do. The third way is for someone to, in lieu of hearing these, like yourself, make a motion that these matters be withdrawn from tonight's agenda and rescheduled to a date certain, however you want to phrase that. And if there's a second and a vote taken on that, then it's moved off the calendar to another date. If that date doesn't, if that motion's not made and there's no second to the motion, then it's not taken off, and you're back to dealing with it as an action item. So those are the 3 ways to go about it.
Thank you. And I'll be clear. I don't have any desire to block, hinder, or not grant this at the appropriate time. This isn't the appropriate time. And so with that, Mr. Chair, could I, John, help me with option number 3. Can I make a motion that action item number 1 be withdrawn and held until one of 2 things happen? We complete our major contract negotiation, or September 30th, whichever comes first.
Right, you've just stated
That's the motion on the table.
the motion
That's
that's
my
on the
motion.
table.
Second.
Okay, so we have a first and second.
Number 2, Brian?
I'll do it, I'm going to go the same route, but
Separate.
separately. I feel like that's more appropriate.
Yep,
3 separate actions.
separate for each one.
so-
But there's now a motion
Motion
and a second. Now the board can act on whether they're going to hear number 1 tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
I have
Any
a que-
further questions?
Yes,
So we
I have a
We have a
question.
question.
There's a lot of back and forth.
Director Jones.
Earlier, Ms. Maddox, you stated that one of these was affecting only one person, and it had, was there a time? I got the sense that something needed to be done
That's,
right away to assist an employee.
that's with the third one that Director Rice
Okay,
was
I'll
talking
hold that.
about.
Okay,
But
thank you.
if anybody retires
Between
from now until whenever these are approved, they will have an issue with their compensation when they retire, until these are resolved, because this was due to a CalPERS audit. And they have turned down, through compensation review, they have turned down portions of the longevity pay because it's not properly written in these resolutions. So staff has been working with CalPERS for the last couple of months to get the language in line, and that's why we felt the urgency to bring it in case anybody retires tomorrow or the next day or.
So there's not a specific person standing in line that's gonna get hit with this.
Not that we're aware of, but CalPERS comes up
Well, I
with
know
new
that this
stuff
whole
all the
Cal-
time.
Yeah, no, but CalPERS, this happens all the time, and I am very concerned that because of glitches in language, a potential harm is done to any employee. And I'm trying to get down into the more details of this to make sure that no one is injured by delaying this.
Director Jones, if I may.
Sir?
Item number 1 and item number 2, currently, that is not the case. Can that change tomorrow? Absolutely. We could bring it back to the board, I guess, for clarification then. I can appreciate Director Rice's comments because I do believe in that level of leadership. We don't know about when retirements happen, right? Item number 3, as I disclosed, is affecting one of our members now. We need to take action on that to make it right, I believe. That would be my heavy suggestion and true leadership in the organization.
Sorry.
All of these do not have a monetary cost of changing any of the contracts. This is cleanup language for PERS. And timing, yes, I can understand that fully.
Well, we have done cleanup language for PERS.
We have. We have. But I can.
Throughout many, many years, as an issue is brought up, like an audit, and then we correct it as quickly and as efficiently as we can. Okay, well,
So we have a,
there's 1 and 2.
we have a first and a second, and we have another question to Director Wood.
Is this language that we're clearing up, is this something in a past contract, or is this a going forward language?
It's in the resolution, so it's past and going forward. So it's just clarifying the language. It's not adding any benefits. It's not giving any more incentives or anything like that. It's just clear. And how we did it was we actually sent the language to CalPERS to review and said, okay, how about this? And they'd say, well, no, that doesn't work. How you need to change this. And we went back and forth with them probably 5 times.
But
5, 6
This is affecting
times?
resolutions that already exist. It's old, right?
It
It's not
resets
tied-
everything.
It's not tied to any negotiations we're already.
No.
Correct. Good question, Director Wood. I think you make a valid point, right? This is cleanup language like we do in all contracts currently. This is no different. I think it's to Director Rice's bad timing, right? The look of this, right, of changing something there. But I do appreciate, this doesn't change what we've done with any of the other existing contracts, what we've cleaned up language before. I think this is just, and I don't want to speak for you, Director Rice, I hear this as a leadership concern, right? What does that look like going forward, breaking bread? This doesn't change any further resolutions. These are agreed upon resolutions from active today and in the past. The other portion of this, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, these audits can affect people that are retired if they want to go back and readjust their salaries of PERSable dollars. So it could potentially have that same effect on the resolutions from deputy chiefs or assistant chiefs that have retired. So we're just simply asking to clean the language up at PERS's request.
So, but my concern with the motion is that we're penalizing or potentially penalizing people for things that are already in the past that are unrelated to the purpose of, I understand if this was something that was tied to a future contract, something part of negotiations, I could understand putting that off. But I don't like the optic of penalizing people because we haven't got our contract done. That's just the way I understand the motion, and that's
I
my
agree.
concern.
I'd have to default, that's collectively the 9 board voting on it and taking action.
So we have to take action. So we have a question. Yes, Director Rice.
Just a comment on that. Unless CalPERS has a reason, they're not going to go back to past retirees and hold them to this language and deduct from their pensions. They're receiving their pension, they're fine. It's a go forward on the resolution. If there was one person that was in the breach, I feel terribly bad about that. But we also represent about 600 or 700 families that expect us to to complete a labor negotiation in just a few days. And I'm sorry, but I am going to think of the bulk of our workforce and the fairness, and it's not an easy decision. I don't get any pleasure in this. So Maddox, I know you put a lot of work into this, and it doesn't, I'm not gonna go out of here skipping. It's a shitty thing to do and a shitty thing to contemplate, but leadership is not easy. And if there's anybody here that this could affect me, you need to take a moment, because every decision we make is very dimensional. It's not just single dimensional. And I think of the 150 or 200 people that are on duty every day and what may happen to them, or if we get a fire chief's text message. So let's get our priorities straight, and let's get our business done. And right now, this is not a pressing piece of business. This can wait. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Director Rice. Director Jones?
Thank you very much. I respect each person's position and thoughts. However, I don't see a connection between ongoing negotiations and cleanup language for PERS that's already in existence. We've done this time and time again, and just because we have a very large responsibility for contract negotiations. I totally acknowledge that, and that can be it is very important, very widespread. This is very particular, and I don't approve of holding what would be the word? Something that we normally see, that we often see, to rephrase PERS, per their requirements, to do, what's the word? I'm kind of, whatever you had, Melissa, is contagious here too, for me. But any other time, this is a matter of course, and I don't see holding this hostage as in any way as a benefit neither to the particulars of the revised language nor the much larger picture of our negotiations. These are two totally separate things. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Jones. So I'm going to call the questions. We have a motion and a second. All right. Can you call roll,
Yes.
please?
Director Saylors?
Aye.
Director Gould?
Aye.
Director Wood?
No.
Director Stark?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Jones?
No.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
President Costa?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Mr. Chair, I have a question on item number 3 that remains.
We still have
We
number
have item number
2.
2.
Oh, we've got that.
If we're going to have the same.
So we're come back to action item number 2. Adopt resolution for senior safety management and safety management employees. Chief HR Officer Melissa Maddox.
Essentially, this item is similar, is almost exactly the same as the last one, it's just the safety versus the non-safety, so
All right.
unless
So
there's any questions
same
about
item?
that one.
All right. Any questions from the board? All right.
Chair?
Director
I'd
Rice?
like to make a motion that action item number 2 be withdrawn and be withdrawn until labor negotiations are complete or brought back on September 30th, whichever happens sooner.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All right. Roll call, please.
Director Saylors?
Aye.
Director Gould?
Aye.
Director Wood?
No.
Director Stark?
Aye.
Director Clark?
Aye.
Director Jones?
No.
Director Rice?
Aye.
Director Weber?
Aye.
President Costa? Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. So it brings us to number 3, adopt resolution, side letter for Battalion Chiefs Organization, an affiliate of Local 522. Melissa Maddox.
Good evening, directors. Directors, tonight we're asking you to consider adopting a resolution approving the side letter of Article 42, continuing education between the Sacramento Metropolitan Fire District and the Battalion Chiefs Organization, an affiliate of Local 522. Again, during a recent members' compensation review, staff identified that the district's continuing education incentive language did not expressly include provisions requiring that qualifying education be job-related and administered in a routine and consistent manner. These criteria are necessary to support the continued treatment of the incentive as reportable compensation under the applicable CalPERS regulations. During the recent compensation review, staff identified the need to update the continuing education incentive provisions to more clearly define eligibility requirements and conditions of payment. These modifications are intended to strengthen compliance with applicable CalPERS requirements governing education incentive compensation. The proposed changes, again, do not create any new kind of new compensation benefits or increase existing compensation levels. Rather, they clarify eligibility requirements, improve consistency in administration, and strengthen the district's compliance with CalPERS regulations and reporting requirements. So tonight, we're asking you to adopt the resolution approving the side letter for Article 42 between the Sacramento Fire District and the Battalion Chiefs Organization.
All right, thank you, Ms. Maddox. Any questions? Director Gould.
Melissa, I just want to confirm that you had 5 correspondents or some number like that between what you were presenting and what PERS agreed that the language now met their needs?
Yes.
So that down the road, if they reject something, you can just show them the language they approved?
Yes, we have it
Okay.
all in emails. So
Okay.
they actually, the side letter that's attached to this, we actually sent that to CalPERS and they reviewed it and said, yes, you're good.
Okay.
But
I
that
would-
could change tomorrow with
Yeah,
CalPERS.
I would
don't know.
strongly suggest we keep the signature
keep
and
an
the
eye on
email of that because I had an opportunity to read this. A lot of words like clarify, not so much.
Yeah.
So I'm just confused. It's clarifying language and you read it and I had massive headache after reading it because it's not super clear. But anyway, that's beside the point. Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we adopt resolution number 3 as written.
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. Any other questions? All right, no other questions. Roll call, please.
Director Sailors. Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
I did want to let you know Brad is on now, if you did want to deal with those closed session items. I mean consent items,
Those
not
consent
closed
items, okay.
session. Yeah, consent.
So we have
Insurance.
consent items 4, 5, and 6, and we have Brad on the line. Okay.
Can you see me, hear me?
Yes.
Great.
All right, Director
Okay.
Gould.
You want to talk about Farah? Was that not sure which item was first.
We'd like to, if you.
Director
if it's
Gould,
okay,
please.
Mr. Chair, I'd just like some additional information on item number 4. If these payments are a reasonable increase, decrease, zero sum, just a little bit more for the community to understand what's happening with these dollar figures and these various insurances that we're forced to maintain.
Yep, for sure. No, I was more than happy to be at the meeting tonight, but I was told that that wasn't necessary, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm not sure what item 4 was, but let's just start with Farah, unless.
Well, Brad, item number 4 is the 2 excess layer policies.
Okay. Okay. So the 2 excess layers, a little background on that. When we switched to FARA from SDRMA, FARA had a smaller aggregate, basically the most they're going to spend for all the fire districts in a policy year. So in order to give a little extra cushion, and we were saving money compared to what SDRMA was, we purchased 2 separate $5 million policies just for Sac Metro Fire, just in case someone else in the pool blows out the aggregate with FARA. And that was decided when we made the change from SDRMA to FARA. The 3% increase is extremely fair, given that excess policies usually follow what the primary policy does. So FARA went up 5%. We would expect the excess to go 5%. We were able to get it to 3%, which is a win. Might not seem like a win to you guys, but in my world, super happy with that.
That's an excellent answer.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very good. It was a win for the taxpayers, what you really meant, not
Oh,
a win for the
100%.
directors.
Yes, no,
Okay.
of the years I've been in front of you guys, this is probably one of the best renewals that we've had.
See?
Oddly, so.
Another really, really good piece of information. Okay, number 5, the disclosure of material expenditures, aviation liability insurance from the Chubb Insurance Group. Interesting name.
Yes. So yes, we were hoping for a 10% increase on this. The best we could do was basically average 7% per year. It looks like a 14% increase, but we're able to freeze in the price for the following year. So it's a 7% increase in effect for this year, a 7% increase for 2027. So we don't have to worry about adverse losses this year impacting our premium for 2027. So we're kind of locking in, what, I don't know, maybe it's a gamble. Maybe we take a 10% rate increase, but I think it's better to do the 7% and 7%. So
Okay.
that's
Not-
the explanation there.
I appreciate that very much, Brad. I just would like to make mention of the fact that as these costs go up, and we're the one footing the bill, but our helicopter has no boundary, we have to be concerned about that. These are the kinds of things where our agency continues to get all these wonderfully effective tools, and everybody gets to come into the toolbox and play with it, but don't see the 7% increase. And so that's just that. I appreciate it, Brad. That's excellent. Finally, number 6, which is the disclosure of material expenditures, general property liability, commercial insurance, fire agency insurance risk authority for fiscal 26-27 in the amount of $3.177 million.
Yes. So again, we're in the insurance world, we're starting to see things kind of stabilize a little bit. And we're not seeing the 15-20% increases as much, but I went in at a 10% budget item for you folks. We were able to get it to 5% for this year. And that takes into account, you've had 2 $1 million claims in the last 4 years. So when I say $1 million claim in the real world, that's a big pop. You have other claims as well, but do not like to see the $1 million claims. So I was very happy once again with the 5% increase on this, considering that you had the big fire claim in February.
So again, excellent information that the community now hears, that our partners are out trying to do everything they can to save money. And that's a narrative that we need to continuously push to the folks that are writing the checks for property taxes in this community, that our expert is tickled pink that we're spending $3.1 million because it's a savings of what could be. And that's the kind of information that I was hoping to hear tonight as we spend these millions of dollars of people's money. And we need to know that this just isn't, oh, we'll just spend it. We don't really care what it is. Brad's given us exceptional information that maybe in the future, when we see big ticket items like this, that little note could be added to the consent. Then the comfort level of doing that without discussion goes way up, right? Because there's that detail that helps us. And the millions of people that are reading our agendas. Thank you, Brad. That was exceptional.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gould. Any other questions from the board on these items?
No, so we have to take them all 3 separate.
3 separate. Okay. So first,
Number 4.
disclosure of material expenditures, excess general liability insurance.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? All right, roll call, please.
Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Number 5, disclosure of material expenditures, aviation liability insurance.
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Director Jones is the second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Director Sailors.
Aye.
Director Gould.
Aye.
Director Wood.
Aye.
Director Stark.
Aye.
Director Clark.
Aye.
Director Jones.
Aye.
Director Rice.
Aye.
Director Weber.
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you. Number 6, disclosure of material expenditures, general property liability commercial insurance, fire agencies insurance risk authority for fiscal year 26-27.
Mr. Chair, since I made the kerfuffle, can I make the motion?
Yes, please.
Thank you. I make the motion, we adopt item 6 in the consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Director Sailors,
Aye.
Director Gould,
Aye.
Director Wood,
Aye.
Director Stark,
Aye.
Director Clark,
Aye.
Director Jones,
Aye.
Director Rice,
Aye.
Director Weber,
Aye.
President Costa.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. And thank you, Director Gould. I think it was a good opportunity for us to dig into those numbers, so thank you. All right, we'll move on to reports. President's report, I have no report. Fire Chief, I see we have no report. All right, thank you, sir. And we'll move to operations report. Deputy Chief Wagaman. No report, thank you. Administrative report. Deputy Chief Farika. No report. All right, sorry, I missed the memo. Support and emergency medical services report. All right, Deputy Chief Mitchell.
Almost.
All right, good
Good
evening.
evening, President Costa, board members, Chief House, colleagues, members of the public. We're bringing to you a few different items tonight from Support and Emergency Medical Services. We'll start off with logistics, then we'll go into planning and development, and then to CRRD, and I will close it out. So I will turn the microphone over to Mark Siebert.
All right, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Board. I am super excited to be here and talk to you tonight. So, Board, Fire Chief, colleagues, member of the public, Mark Siebert, Logistics Manager for Metro Fire. So, I get to announce one of my new employees. So, we have been trying to hire somebody for quite a while. We went through 2 hiring series to find the right person, and I mean the right person. And this is the one thing that I really love about Metro Fire is when we need to hire somebody, we're going to do the right thing. But if we can't hire the right person, we're going to keep looking till we find that right person. And that right person is Trevor. Tomorrow is already a 1 month. Trevor got to start with trial by fire, as I like to say, because unfortunately we had one of our employees on long-term FMLA and we have somebody on work comp. So we've been running super short. So Trevor has been learning on the fly, and I'm just telling you, it's so nice to have a professional come in with just his support, 100% guarantee for the first day. I was like, if you need me for overtime, you let me know. So I just wanted to announce Trevor. Grab an hour, I'll have him speak on himself, and he can tell you a little bit more about himself. So thank you, Board. Trevor?
Thank you. All right, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Once again, my name is Trevor Grabenauer. Happy to be here. Before this, I had the same job for 18 years. I believe in longevity, I believe in dependability, and I believe in loyalty, personally. I find those values can carry out in personal life and also in most everything else that comes at you, too. I believe in picking up what is being put down to the best of your ability. Take one day at a time. At the same time, right now, I know I'm still new to everything. I'm still in the process of learning many things, usually at the same time. I can do like 5 or 6 things at once, but I can still only physically be in one place at one time. So please be gentle. Right now, like I'm just getting started in logistics. As an analogy, for this, one of the things I came up with is like, imagine like Metro Fire as a totem pole. Everyone's got a little bit of face on there, some more than others, of course, but I feel like logistics is the wood it's carved from. Yeah, I do too. What else? I've met a lot of faces and a lot of people in a very short span of time. Everyone that I've met here so far seems genuine in nature and actually like good people. I feel like that's one of the few things in this world that we don't have enough of. But in this department and in this corporation, I am happy to be here and happy to be a part of it. And I plan on doing everything I can to stay here and help facilitate to move forward and be a part of that too. Metro Fire is an engine, and right now I am just a gear in the cogworks, but at the same time, it is the gears that help turn the engine over and keep it running. So with that, I thank you once again for having me here. I wish you all nothing but the best of days and a better tomorrow. Thank you once again.
Thank you, and welcome to the team.
Welcome to the team. We're all gears.
And that is not for show. We talked this morning. I said, what are your one-liners? He wouldn't tell me, so that was awesome. Thank you.
Nice.
Next is Aaron.
I want a closer look at that facial hair.
Good evening,
evening.
President Costa, board members, Fire Chief. Thank you to everyone who was able to attend our grand opening at Zinfandel today. We were very excited to open that building up and have many of you in attendance. I asked Chief Mitchell if he could indulge me on a few special recognitions tonight that I would like to give. I'd like to, today we were able to recognize some of our partners and supporters in that project. So tonight, I wanted to give some extra recognition to some that were not mentioned today. I'd like to recognize Joe Ekus and his team in facilities, Matt Roseberry and his team in IT, Mark Siebert and his logistics team for their tireless efforts in bringing that facility online over the past month. I'd also like to especially recognize Chief Green and Dana Lips and the entire training division staff. They have been incredible as we have moved into that building. All of these team members have devoted their time, expertise, and energy throughout the entire project, not just in our move-in. They've reviewed plans, they have looked at equipment specifications, all of these things over the course of that project, in addition to their regular work responsibilities. They've been to meetings, they've indulged me in weekly meetings over the past month and a half, getting the facility online. So I just especially want to thank those groups who have been really instrumental in bringing the facility online over the past month. So I don't know how many of them are here tonight. I know Matt's here, but we can give them a round of applause. Also in attendance tonight is our owner advisor team. A couple years ago, when we first brought this project to you, this board recognized that design build was the appropriate project delivery method for this project after our recommendation to you all. And I could not thank you enough for that decision. This has been an incredible project. I'd like to ask our owner advisor team to stand. From Molly Jones from Jones Design Group and Dylan Motley with Benham Engineering. With this being the district's first design build project, I had a lot of learning to do in that space, and they have been so generous with their time and expertise in helping me through that project. They were thoughtful advisors. They entertained all kinds of questions that I had, and all of these like, am I off base on this? They've just been really trusted advisors, and I think because of that, this project was successful. So I thank the board for their decision to let us go with that project delivery method. I thought it was very successful, and I'd like to recognize our owner advisor group for their expertise and their partnership on this project. That's all I have. Thank you all.
Give them a round of applause.
Yeah,
Yes.
please stand again, please. Yes. Director Wood has a question.
We also, I think you and Jeff should be recognized for the tireless work you guys put into it and all the long hours. So thank you for everything you did. And as soon as we can get up into that tower, I want to go.
You got to talk to Chief Green about that one.
Oh, yeah,
He's
good
out
to
there.
go.
He's giving
Good
you
to
the
go.
thumbs
She
up
wouldn't
on
let
that.
me go today.
I said, that's not my gig. You got to talk to training.
I want to repel.
All right, thank you.
Actually, I have a quick question.
Yes.
Sorry.
No.
Any other questions from the board? All right. So we heard today about a decision on the number of bathrooms. So
Yes.
How long was that conversation about getting these additional bathrooms?
Probably 1 month to 6 weeks of trying to figure out how to get more
A
bathrooms.
little time to add the bathrooms.
Into
yeah.
that space. Yeah, and I will say that during our design build competition process, one of the cool things about that delivery method is we got to preview concept designs from 3 separate pre-qualified teams. So we got to see what they could offer us from a best value standpoint. And so we got to work with each of those teams on refining those designs over a period of time. And then ultimately, we got to choose which design we thought would best fit our needs and bring the district the best value. So all 3 teams throughout that process said, do you really need that many bathrooms? Like, why so many bathrooms?
The answer was yes.
And we said, we promise you, yes, we do need that many bathrooms. But that was, they were all surprised at the number of bathrooms we requested in that process.
They fit really well in the design. They look great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Stark.
I want to thank everybody for the great work. It's a beautiful facility. I'm really excited that we got it done. And I just want to let everybody recognize, or for the community, that this is just the first step. We're going to be doing a lot more work out there. And it's really exciting to make this a state-of-the-art regional training facility. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Great work.
Thank you, and for recognizing Jeff and Aaron. Appreciate that, Director Wood. The amount of work and professionalism, dedication, tenaciousness, the phone calls, all of that, and watching the growth through this process and knowing what we've got coming up for Measure O funds and some of the work you just mentioned, Director Stark, we're in a real good place. So thank you both again for what you did to get us through that process, as well as many others. So Jeff and Aaron, thank you. Next up, Chief Nygren.
Good evening, President Costa, directors, Chief House, Amy Nygren, Fire Marshal in the Community Risk Reduction Division. Just to give a quick update on fireworks activity. What was once a small season is now a year-round activity for us, but a lot of it is behind the scenes. But it's really ramped up, and it started on June 16th with the Citrus Heights Chamber meeting, where Chief House, myself, and Captain Ellis spoke, and mine was very specific to fireworks. It was well received. Director Weber, thank you for attending. Last week, June 18th, Deputy Fire Marshal Diana Freeman attended the Rancho Cordova media event. It was focused again on fireworks, and that there were news outlets there, and it was well received as well. Today, I participated in the annual press conference for the Office of the State Fire Marshal, where we talked about safety, enforcement, and fines. And for general information, the fines have changed this year. Where in the past it was $1,000 per event, this year for both Citrus Heights and Rancho Cordova, as well as unincorporated Sacramento County, is a $1,000 fine per device. So it's heavy fines this year. $10,000 for any device in the American River Parkway, and $10,000 on public school grounds. So they are really ramping up fines this year. This Sunday, June 28th at noon, all of our fireworks booths start opening. So you'll see those around town. We have 157 this year. On Sunday, our inspectors will be out conducting the inspections for every single one of those. 140 that day, and then a couple stragglers after that, but total 157. And then this Saturday starts our fireworks displays. City of Citrus Heights has their Stars and Stripes event on Saturday at Van Maren Park. So we will have inspectors out there. We do all the plan review and inspections for those. So with the inspections, we start when they set up their racks, mortars, shell drop, all the way till when the display has happened. Then, let's see, coming up on the 3rd, we have 3 displays we'll be at. 2 of them are private for Northridge Country Club and Del Paso Country Club. And then we have the Hagen Park event here in Rancho Cordova. And then on the 4th, we will be again at Hagen Park and Rancho Murrieta. Let's see, on the 4th, we have a collaboration with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. They are assisting in the Orangeville area as well as the Antelope area. They'll be using Station 29 as a command post, and we will have one of our, actually Diana Freeman, our Deputy Fire Marshal, will be on site to help coordinate those events. They will also have their drones out, or UAVs. Then on July 4th as well, we will have our UAV out at Station 29. So we'll partner with our code enforcement, and we'll have one of our inspectors out. So that way, our drone's gonna go up. We'll be able to locate areas that have those illegal fireworks. We can record the events, turn those over to code enforcement for violations and fines. Our Citrus Heights and Rancho Cordova also will have their UAVs out. Lots of UAVs this year. It is a more safe environment to operate than sending people out in their vehicles. We have a huge collaboration in the county with the Sacramento Regional Fireworks Task Force and our PIO, and the regional PIOs work on consistent messaging, so you'll start seeing a lot of those messaging going out here real soon. And lastly, for staffing for our investigators on the 3rd and the 4th, we have 2 investigators that will be out and about as well to help with all the fire investigations. Just a kudos to my team because this time of year is super busy. It takes a lot of time away from their families. And so I appreciate everything that they do every day, but especially this time of year. So with that, if you have any questions.
All right, any questions? Director.
So, if you know off the top of your head, what is the percentage of those fines that are actually collected?
We don't collect them, so I don't have that percentage. It goes through the county. I don't know what their final tally was last year. We provided them 14 violations, which was $14,000 last year. I don't know if they collected on all of that. This year, that would be much higher because it's per device, and they were pretty active last year.
And the second part to that question is, all of the equipment and personnel we're providing, is there a percentage of those funds that Metro Fire receives, or does that go to the county?
It's all at the county right now, but it is one of the items that was discussed last year, and we're going to continue to discuss that this year of how we can do a cost sharing.
Exactly, because we're providing a great deal of personnel for that in time, so thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Chief.
And once again, as I said before, the level of professionalism in our CRRD folks under Chief Niger's leadership is second to none. We're in really good hands. So I'm going to finish up with highlighting another one of our areas, community relations. Most of you are aware, Fire Camp occurred June 16th through 19th last week. It marked a milestone this year. Our camp director, Captain Jim Pritchard, completed his final year, passing his leadership role over to engineer Alex Carl after 14 years being the director. So the team celebrated with a special edition Fire Camp logo and patriotic tie-dye shirts this year in honor of the transition, also to honor the America's 250th birthday. I'm also happy to recognize that we started a new partnership with Sunrise Parks and Recreation District. So we were able to make Family Day especially memorable with over 300 attendees enjoying a traditional fire camp barbecue lunch over at Rush Park. We really appreciate that. A lot of the siblings came out, used the playgrounds, families enjoyed the time ahead of the awards ceremony, and also like to recognize the barbecue that happened that day. It doesn't go without a lot of volunteer help too, and there was a lot of folks that did that. Retired Captain Brian Curry, current Captain Jake Curry, our fire explorers, ARC students, and others stepped up to do great work there. Also, a special thank you to all of the members who volunteered their time for that entire week. It's all volunteer. To be camp counselors and support and others, as well as yourselves as the directors for the continuous support for this program. Gave over 80 youth the opportunity to participate and join our firefighters for 4 days. They learned teamwork, build confidence, and most importantly, life-saving skills that they can put to use out in the community. Also wanted to recognize and thank our program partners. As I mentioned, Sunrise Park and Rec, Gulfland Sunsplash, Sac Regional Fire Emergency Communication Center, Raising Cane's Chicken, Chicago Fire Pizza, Roseville Fire Department, and Capital City CPR. And the sponsorship provided by the Citrus Heights Kiwanis Clubs, as well as to our individual sponsors. We couldn't do it without all of them, so a lot of thanks. And then finally, although Community Relations takes on Fire Camp, we would be remiss if we didn't recognize the support provided in a number of the other divisions, including logistics, admin services, Office of the Fire Chief, Finance, Fleet, Communications, IT, Operations, Air Operations, EMS, and CERT, to name a few, and I hope I didn't miss anybody there. So with that said, I have some handouts with some special notes that were written by some of the campers. I'll provide you all at the adjournment, so you have that. I'll also make sure Marnie gets a copy of that for you to review, and so you can see all of the folks by name that were participated this year and volunteered their time, and give you some more kudos to our and see what the community is telling us. So with that, I'll end my report unless there's questions.
All right, thank you, Chief. Any questions? Director Clark.
Yeah. Well, one of the most exciting things for me was observing the parents of the participants, how excited they were about their children's development and their participation in the fire camp. There was anonymous. It was just, running around, mingling, if you will, in the crowd, and listening to the comments of some of the parents was like, my kid is really excited about this. This is great. So I think that's what makes the event wonderful.
And I just, since you mentioned that, you'll see that in we have some parents that sent us some information that you'll get to read about that say exactly the same thing.
Very exciting, yeah.
They were really happy. And some of the campers wrote some letters too that you'll get to see.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. So, and thank you. All right.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you. Fantastic work. All right. Firefighters Local 522 report. Captain Sean Scollard, Local 522 Vice President. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening, board members, President Costa, Chief Rice, colleagues, members of the public. Sean Scollard, Vice President, Local 522. I'd like to start by just saying what a great day with the inauguration of the Zinfandel training site. Saw a lot of you out there. What a memorable moment for Metro Fire. Chief House, thank you for the kind words, and a lot of great speakers. One of the things that stood out there today was we had local, state, federal partnerships, acknowledgments, retirees, previous chiefs, regional partners, fire agencies. It spoke volumes of the things that we can do. As I was sharing with some of the board earlier, one of the things that resonated with me the most being out there was a sense of pride and ownership. Like we have a place, and I hope that 26-1 feels the same way that I did when I was walking through there today, that we have a facility that we can call our own. And I know that we're great partners in the region, and I know that we'll do a great job sharing that facility, but driving in those gates and seeing it standing really feels great to be able to say, this is ours. This is ours. An academy that gets to go through that training and be on home turf, if you will, has got to just be a great sense of pride. They probably don't realize it now, but later in their careers, they'll look back and hopefully they understand how impactful today is and how impactful their academy class is, because they get to break the ground on it. I'm a little envious, although I do not want to go back through a fire academy. I remember, if I'm not mistaken, the property was purchased in 2006. A year later is when I got sponsored by Metro Fire as a fire cadet to go through the Regional Fire Academy, and that was out at 686 in the Brickyard. And again, I was super pumped to be out there and go through that academy, but it wasn't on our home turf, and I didn't even realize that then. And then when I got hired full-time with Metro in 2011, I went through the fire academy at Station 21. And there was a little bit better sense of ownership because it was still one of our fire stations, but it felt temporary, and we knew it was temporary. Working out of a portable and all these things, it felt temporary. So walking through there today was a great feeling. I can't say it enough. Like it was incredible. Thank you to everybody that had a hand in that. I know the board, the fire chief, all of our staff here. Everybody just did a phenomenal job, and I like hearing it from Director Stark that there's so much more to come out there, and if we can do what we have done already thus far, it's taken a long time, but good things come with patience, and I think this is a testament to it. So a lot of vision, it takes a lot of courage. I think the fire chief mentioned courage today, that it takes courage for somebody to have a vision and come up with an idea that may seem impossible, and to see it come to fruition really is nice to see. Changing topics, and we talk about contract negotiations, and I think it's just important for you guys to understand, as we talked a lot about courage and we talked a lot about vision today, and we see it come to fruition, is that 522 has a long-standing history of looking into the future, about taking care of those that don't work here currently. No different than the vision was to create a training facility for the next generation of firefighters. When that vision happened, those recruits, maybe some of them weren't even born yet. I don't know. But the fact is that we made this place better for those that were coming behind us. And that's been the longstanding vision of 522. I know Brian can attest to that, is we try to leave it better than the way we found it. And that is the same testament right now in this negotiations process. If we are really trying to look in the future. We are really trying to leave it better for those that came before us, and no differently than the fact that others have done the same thing to take care of us. We had disparities in pay. When I first got hired, we were going through budgetary crisis, and we had to add steps into the firefighters rank. And it took almost a decade to get the firefighter ranks back on parity. So one group didn't have 7 steps and the other group had 5. We want to keep that effort up, and I can assure you that that's exactly the type of thing that we're taking into consideration during this process. With that, I'll take any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions? No, sir. All right, no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for your report. All right, we'll shift to committee and delegate reports. Executive Committee, we have no report. Our next meeting is scheduled for July 9th. Next, we'll move to Communications Center JPA. Deputy Chief Rica.
Good evening, President Acosta, directors, Chief House, colleagues, and guests. Joe Furica, Deputy Chief of Administration, and your Comm Center JPA board member. The board last met this last Tuesday, the 23rd. During that meeting, the board approved the fiscal year 26-27 final budget. Also during the meeting, the board was advised of the appointment of Casey Quintard as the Deputy Director of Operations over there. June 15th, Chief Wilborn began transitioning into the Chief Executive Director position as Chief Parker from Sacramento City transitions out. Chief Wilborn's term as the Executive Director over there will officially begin on July 1st, and we're looking forward to that. There was no other reportable action taken, and our next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, July 28th. And I'll answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions? All right, no questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Finance and Audit Committee, Director Jones.
Thank you very much. Finance and Audit met tonight, and we received a presentation item of the bi-monthly fiscal report through April 30th from our CFO, Mr. O'Toole. And, our next meeting is in August sometime. Let's check it out. August 27th. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Director Jones. Policy Committee, Director Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Policy Committee's next meeting will be on July 9th at 5:30 p.m.
All right, thank you, Director. Move on to board member questions and comments. Director Jones.
Thank you. No comment.
Thank you. All right, Director Sailors. All right, thank you. Director Gould.
I just want to thank staff and my colleagues for indulging me on the consent. I hope that was beneficial. I know it was for me. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Director Clark.
No comment.
All right, thank you. Director Wood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just briefly, Chief Mitchell, you already covered some of the comments I was going to make about fire camp, but I do want to recognize, at least from our position here, the appreciation that we have for April West and Captain Pritchard and Engineer Carl. It was an absolutely great week. Everyone that I've talked to just had a blast out there. So all of their time and effort was definitely appreciated by the campers. Also, Mark Nunez, the time and he gave out there. But two other things that are important. All those campers got certified in CPR. They weren't just learning it, they actually got certified. So they go out this summer and help save lives as they're at pool parties and other things, much like we've had in the past. And the last one is beyond the people I mentioned, every one of the counselors that are there, all of our fire members that are there, have done whatever they need to do to get those 4 days off because they volunteer their time. They don't get paid. It's not anything that comes out of the county budget or the district's budget, the taxpayers. It's all their own volunteer time. And they do that because every year they see the results of how much these means to these kids, and it's wonderful. So it's important that people know that this is all volunteer time that our people are given, and I thank them for that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director. Director Stark. All right, thank you. Director Rice.
Contained.
Thank you. Director Weber.
Yes, sir. So I'd just like to thank everybody that had any part of the training facility. I know of at least 4 of us on this dais were around when this idea came around. It's an incredible facility, but most importantly, all of our names are on that building, and it's not a lodge situation. So I'm very happy about that. Thank you.
So I'll just say that it was a fantastic event. I had an opportunity to speak about kind of partnerships and the impact on the community. And I said, I'll just say that nothing like seeing the amount of people that were there. I mean, it was packed. We had a lot of the community, retirees. We had a lot of our partners show up and support. And a lot of them had a lot of nice things to say. And I would just say, what a proud moment to be part of this organization, to see something like that come together, and to see the crowd there really partnering with us to see this vision come true, and then wanting to continue to work with us. So that is because of the staff of this organization. Chief, for your leadership and the staff, you guys did an amazing job. It was an amazing event. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be a part of it. And with that, I will say we will close for closed session. But really quick, we did have a request for us to take a picture down here with our magazine. So if we could do that really quick. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Bring our magazines.
Are you ready, President?
Yes.
Recording in progress.
All right, we're returning from closed session. Council, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, the board met in closed session pursuant to the closed session agenda. On item number 1, conference with labor negotiator, the board met with its designated negotiator for the employee organizations listed in the agenda. No reportable action was taken. On item number 2, conference with legal counsel, the court met to consider the government code section 910 claim for damages filed by Denise Roxanne Williams. The board voted unanimously to deny the claim and to refer the matter to the district's liability pool for further handling. On item number 3, the board met pursuant to the closed session agenda on a conference with legal counsel for a government claim under Government Code Section 910 for damages filed by Travas Williams. The board voted unanimously to deny the claim and refer it to the liability pool for further handling. That's all I have.
Council, with that, our next board meeting is scheduled for July 9th. Meeting adjourned.
Recording stopped.